Modern Trek is Vance Major. How you doing this evening?
Oh, finer than frog hair. It's good to be back. It's good to be here. It's good to see you, my friend. How are you doing?
I've had my ups and downs, but I'm back. We're recording, so all is good.
There you go.
And funny thing is, as I said this evening, which means I let everybody behind the curtain, and because this is going to drop in the morning, so yeah, they're going to know we recorded this at god darn too late at night.
You let him peek behind the curtain. Oh my goodness!
How could I do such a thing? The sad part is people may want to peek behind our curtain, but I don't think they'd want to peek behind the curtain of Discovery. Maybe with a blowtorch, but
or they might. You never know. Not with some of these people. I don't know, man. So that being said, we are talking about the state of Trek.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Okay.
We have. Go ahead.
Okay. So overall, I can sum up my thoughts on Modern Trek as such. Discovery completely shit the bed.
Mm-hmm.
They had some really good ideas in Picard. Some of the follow through wasn't done very well, but it was a step up. Then came Lower Decks, and they re-shit the bed. So there's that.
Okay. Well, let's get in. Let's really delve into it, because it's easy to sit there and overgeneralize.
Yes.
So let's dig into the weeds here. When you talk about Discovery, you're not happy with it.
Mm-mm.
Why? Because
well, okay. Discovery was just the problem with Discovery. I have several, to the point where I never watched past season 1. Now I've watched reviews of season 2, but I have not watched season 2 because I was so put off by season 1 that I absolutely refused to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my main issues with Discovery itself was, one, above all else, Michael Burnham is an annoying, obnoxious character. And
What's that?
Anytime she's on screen, it drives me insane. Secondly, the ship itself, I don't like it. It is ugly as hell. I don't like it. The Klingons, I don't like what they did with them either. I don't like anything they did with the Klingons in Discovery. I don't like the fact that I went through an entire season of a show and I'd say 90% of the crew, I couldn't tell you who the hell they were or what the hell they were supposed to be doing because I was oversaturated with the Michael Burnham is the only character on the show that matters. And that really was a put off when it came to this show. The storylines were really fact, and it seemed like they were writing each show with a different person writing it every single one, because there was nothing that really connected episode 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. Like there was no feel that, yes, this belongs with this belongs with that. Like out of nowhere we get, oh, well, the captain is actually from the Mirror Universe. Surprise! What the fuck? And then, other shit within that series. Oh, surprise! This guy is actually a Klingon, but he went through this painful transformation to look human. The fuck? It was just. And then the spore drive. What the is the spore drive? all these things combined into a show that by the end of it, I was so angry, I swore off watching season 2. There was nothing they could do in season 2 that would make this redeem them for what went through season 1. Does that make any sense? Or am I being too harsh?
No, I agree with you. In that one regard of having a completely separate, every episode seemed to be, every episode seemed to be individualized, but they were trying to connect everything together. But yet it just seemed very jumbled. But see, that's where I think you've missed the mark. Season 2 fixed a lot of the problems that season 1 had, and I was very put off by the look of the Klingons. I didn't like them from the language that they had. That felt very off-putting. It felt almost too alien. It didn't feel like anything that we were connected to. I liked the way the Klingons felt in season 2. Season 2 fixed a lot of the things that season 1 really screwed up. Now, I was a very big fan of the Mirror Universe, like once they got there. Once they got back to Federation space, it just seemed to be like, we don't know what we're doing again,
Mm-hmm.
So now I did like Lorca. He was actually one of my favorite, captains, even though he was from the Mirror Universe. I liked the dark, I liked the darker path that captain went on. I didn't mind the fact that he was from the Mirror Universe. I'm kind of actually curious on, are we ever going to see regular universe Lorca? I would really urge you, give season 2 a try and see where you stand on the series and see if it's still as bad as season 1. Because for me, season 1 is very hit or miss for me. It is, I can't stand Burnham. I think a lot of the criticisms you bring up is, a lot of the same things I find with her, because I don't really like her. I know I like the actress. I think she holds her own. The Walking Dead, is one of my favorite series. And I found her, I think she did a great job in that show. Nothing that was, astronomically great. She didn't really stand out to me there, but, I thought she did well. Not enough to get her own series here, but I think she did good. But I just don't like her character. I think her character is a terribly written character. I think she's one of those, as they put it, Mary Sue character. She outthinks the computer, and I think the first or second episode, and I think that's idiotic.
Mm-hmm.
I just think she's not a very good character. I think the show in season 2, like I said, I think the show really course corrects and fixes a lot of the things that season 1 went wrong on. I think they were trying to be too flashy, which I'm not a big fan of. I think they were trying to be oh my God, we have all these surprise things that, you never thought we would go here. And we didn't really need to know that, because they crammed about 5 seasons worth of surprises in one season. And that one season was only 13 episodes. It wasn't a full season of like 24 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
The criticism that I give it the most is I still didn't know who the characters were at the end of that season, like you brought up. I still don't know all of their names. I know what they look like, but I don't know what their jobs are.
Yeah.
Like the one lady who was in the first battle, she has like a half-shaven head. And that mechanical thing on her. I don't know what job she does. I don't know what any of their jobs are. Except for, I'm still confused. Is Stamets a science officer, or is he the engineer? I know the one lady in season 2 is brought on as an engineer, and I really like that character. But again, like everybody that I know, the one doctor. It's just everything's kind of just like thrown at you, and you don't have time to sit there and process anything. Whereas with Next Generation, within a couple of episodes, you're like, yeah, I know these people's first names, I know their last names, I know them. They feel like real people, because everything's not just crammed at thrown your way.
Yeah.
And this felt too much like a roller coaster. And that's good for action adventure if you're into the JJ films, which I like them. I think they have their place. But for your 13 episode, you want to get to know your characters. That's not this.
Yeah.
Where I feel like Picard was a little bit more of that, but not fully that. Again, these modern Trek kind of goes toward the fast action paced, don't give you time to breathe, don't give you a chance to react to anything. You feel like you're in the middle of a fight and you don't have time to react to anything. You blow after blow after blow, and you're like, wait, what? It's like a car wreck. You're in the middle of it and you're reacting to everything.
Well, I might have to watch season 2, considering season 3 is supposed to drop next week.
Well, season 2, and that's like season 2 is really good. But the thing from season 2 that I've noticed is season 2, everything good from season 2 is from classic Star Trek, like Captain Pike.
That's what I've heard.
The captain's uniforms, Spock, number 1. Those. I cannot stress enough how much I love those classic-ish uniforms. How they look, how they made those kind of cool again. I went out and bought those for my productions just because I thought they looked very cool. The first time Pike beams on board and shakes, their hand, you're cheesing. You're like, oh, okay, this feels like Star Trek. And even when he puts on the Discovery uniforms, like, it still feels like Star Trek. And he Anson Mount, I will say, has that ability to make you feel like, yes, this is classic Star Trek, even though everything about Discovery screams, this isn't classic Star Trek. And again, those people that like, Discovery, please don't burn me at the cross. If you like Discovery, you have every right to like it. I'm not judging you for it.
Absolutely, because we're about to, once we're done with Discovery, we're going to go into where I'm on the minority, and I like Picard. I defended Picard to the end of time. I almost had I did a lot of defending of that show. And you'll see my switch when we go from Discovery to Picard. But Discovery, to me, what really bothered me was just I just be all right. I guess I can deal with this. I guess I can deal with what the Klingons look like, and then they go and do something, and it's like, oh, for fuck, yeah, Jesus. And then I get really mad about the Klingons, right? Because once you get mad, that's it.
That's the thing that I guess a lot of people feel with modern Trek is they feel like they have to compromise on what their interpretation of Star Trek is. They're like, well, I don't like this, but I guess I'll accept this as Star Trek. Whereas for me, like and especially the fact that I make Star Trek films, I see, the JJ stuff just as relevant as, classic TOS or next gen. It's, I have stuff that I like more. As you and I've talked, I hate Voyager. I can't stand it.
But I that one.
But my friend Carly Shibby on Facebook, she's my pen pal per se. I adore her. She's one of my favorite people in the world. But she loves Voyager, loves Voyager. And I feel like it breaks her heart every time I'm like, I hate Voyager. But the thing is, like, the thing about Star Trek is there's room for all of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Even though, like, my personal preference is like I do not like Voyager, but I can certainly sit there and be like, her love for it is certainly just as valid as my love for Deep Space Nine. Now, I know there's people who, they hate that, spinning bicycle wheel. They can't stand it. Now, for me, it doesn't get any better than the Dominion Wars. The story arc that went through that whole thing. I eat it up. I could watch that whole thing from beginning to end and not get bored. So I guess backtracking just a little bit, your thoughts on the Kelvin movies, because that's something where that's it's not quite as modern, but it's still part of modern Trek because that was I think what was
Yeah,
2008
I
I
guess
think it
we
was.
can. I guess we've talked enough about Discovery. We can go to Kelvin. So the Kelvin movies, the first one, I was okay with. It had a few touch and go moments.
So you love starships being built in Iowa, I take it.
I could care less where they're built. The second one, yeah, it started to, you go from, cruising to yellow alert, and then, number 3 hits and you're at full red alert battle stations. Wesley, get the fuck off the bridge, right? So
Really, you
yeah.
so you didn't like Into Darkness, or I
Oh
mean,
hell no.
and you definitely didn't like Beyond.
No.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm actually in the minority, I think, and I really hate the Vengeance. Isn't that what it's called? That big black monstrosity that they put in the movie.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like that ship. I mean personally, I thought it was a ship that if they had lit it better, it would have looked better. It just, I mean, when you've got a ship that you can barely see, you're like, I don't know what's firing at what because everything's so dark. I mean, it's messed up because like you get on the bridge and everything's like all like you're getting hit with lens flare, but when you go into space, everything's all dark. You're like, I don't know what I'm looking at, you know?
Yeah, I did not like that ship. It was just like, are you flipping serious? Which is bad because normally, like if I'm doing like a game or something, my ships are black.
Mm-hmm.
But that one, it was just I didn't like the design. I didn't like that hole in the saucer. That was it looked like a bottle opener.
Yeah, see, if I felt like if they had given it just like the regular design of a Starfleet ship, or at least lit it better so that it was properly lit, and fixed that hole in the saucer section, I felt like it would have. I felt like that would have fixed a lot of the problems that got slandered with that, with the battle and the ship and everything, and named it something better, like the Excelsior. Because like when you name a ship called the Vengeance, well, of course you're the fucking bad guys.
Yeah, welcome to Captain Obvious.
and exactly, like to me, like the ship's design was fine if it was lit, and then name it the Excelsior, and have that be the reason why the ship caught up to you, because that, like I think I've told you before, having them act stupid and be like, oh, the ship can't catch up to us because we're at warp. Okay, well, the ships can travel at multiple warp vectors. We've established that in Enterprise. So you guys acting like nobody can catch up to you because you're at warp. Okay, that's acting like you're in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, and I mean the Borg kind of did it to the Enterprise D. So why are you so shocked? Like seriously?
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean that was one thing that bothered me, was you're just, that's just stupid. So have it be the Excelsior, light it better, and then have it have transwarp. So have transwarp actually succeed, and then be a fucking threat. That would have made the movie instantly better for me. Because that would have made the great experiment, that much more grandiose.
I also kind of one of my moments in that movie in particular that I was just like, oh, come on, really? Is when they did the role reversal.
Of Spock and Kirk.
Yeah, that was just really, seriously.
Yeah.
Come on, F off. Right?
Yeah.
It just.
Yeah, it went.
Then, oh yeah, we can bring Kirk back with Khan's blood. Are you flipping serious?
Well, the thing about that was, for no reason Kirk's in the middle of a heavy, intense conversation, and then he just randomly asks Bones, "What are you doing with that tribble?" Why would you ask that?
Yeah.
Like you're in the middle of an intense conversation, then you're asking. I mean, it'd be one thing if you're walking, you just now walk into sick bay, and then you're like, "Whoa, hey Bones, what are you doing with that tribble?" "Oh, well, blah 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 blah." "Oh, okay, that's cool." And then you go talk to whatever you're doing. But like you're in the middle of this intense, pissed off, angry conversation, and you bring this up to Bones. Like why would you do that? Like
Yeah.
it's so forced. Um, Me personally, I like the Kelvin movies. I like all of them for different reasons. I feel that the first one it brings new level of excitement to that franchise in a way. I mean, because JJ didn't need to do any of the fan service that he did, keeping the stuff that he kept. Um, he could have just been like, "Nope, I'm doing my own thing. Screw off, everybody. I don't need to keep any canon." But he did. Into
I don't like
Darkness.
that Enterprise.
No, that I think is an ugly looking ship. Just from a design perspective, it's an ugly ship.
And to be precise, right? And like, I've always hated warp nacelles that move. It was one of my pet peeves with Voyager. And the Enterprise's nacelles don't move. Go away.
Okay.
And they were too big. And they looked weird.
Okay. You lost me on the moving part. The nacelles.
Yeah, they do. When he goes to warp, they move.
They
or
never.
At least
They
look like it.
Yeah, they
Visually.
never. Yeah, I was gonna say they don't move unless unless it's like the warp effect, like the Enterprise D stretching. That might be what you're talking about, but they don't.
Yeah, but the way that they filmed it, I swear, in one of the movies, it looks like the damn nacelles move.
I was gonna say
it caught my pet peeve from Discovery or from Voyager, because I hated whenever Voyager went to warp and those damn nacelles moved. Just like, well, what happens if one of those nacelles can't move? Does it no longer be able to go to warp? Well, I'm freaking a built-in flaw of all flaws, you morons. Right?
It starts doing donuts in space because it can only.
Yeah, bloody idiots.
Yeah, I think what you saw in JJ's film was just like a visual choice, because those warp nacelles, those were like they were too far back, which was my pet peeve with the warp nacelles, because it's again it's just fucking hideous. How far back those are. Like, what are you thinking? Like, how does big
balls at the beginning, at the front, and then
like who thought visually that? Yeah, who thought that looked good? Because it doesn't. If they just fixed how far forward they looked, I would be okay with that. If they just moved them forward some, I'd be like, okay, it's still a little big at the beginning, but okay, at least it looks fine. But it's like those big balls sit on top of the pylons, and that it doesn't work from an engineering perspective. It just doesn't work. It's hideously looking. I mean, I think they were trying to be so drastically different, and I don't know why they had to go there. Because again, you can look different and still have your own take on it.
They did a much better job in Discovery about the Enterprise. I'll give them that.
Yeah, because I mean, it instantly is recognizable, and yet different enough. And even that still got some slack. I was surprised to see the hate, because I didn't hate that at all. I thought, well,
to be fair, I think anytime that you change something that is iconic as the Connie, anytime you mess with that, you're gonna get flack.
Even I get slack for changing in my film. People give me grief for it. They're like, they yell at me for changing the shit. I'm like, guys, you guys have had how many regular Constitution class ships you've seen it how many times? here's something a little different. Like, don't give me shit for it. And
Yeah.
they rip me apart for it. And I'm like, how is it you guys can't look at it and say, it's something a little different? I don't get that. So, and that's the same way I look at the Pike one. I'm like, yes, technically it may not be the Cage era. And yes, technically this is not a good bridge between the Pike era and the Kirk era. But it's fine. Are you really gonna gripe over something like that? To me, I'm okay with it. I'm like, the uniforms are fresh. They make me want to be excited about Star Trek. That Enterprise is fresh. It makes me excited about Star Trek. To me, when I sit there and I'm like, when I watch Discovery season 2 and I see Pike on that Enterprise and I see the Spock and I see number 1, I get excited about Star Trek again. And thinking about Strange New Worlds, I get excited about Star Trek again. The way it was when Picard first was announced, and I was like, man, I'm excited about Star Trek again. To go back in that era, with those characters, I'm excited again. So the little continuity things don't bother me as much, because give me some good storytelling, which leads us into Picard.
Yes.
So
where I think I'm going to be in a very different chair this time. I'm going to be in the "but it was good" chair, which is a different chair for me for most of these. So what was your overall thoughts of Picard?
Well, if I'm being honest, it's I'm the biggest hypocrite. On one side, I said that it was disappointing because I can't let my son watch modern Star Trek. And it sucks because he grew up on listening to the theme song of Next Generation. And him and me watching Star Trek, and him playing Starships with me, and us playing the Star Trek action figures together. Because I'm a very active father with my son. We do a lot of stuff together. Star Trek being one of those things. I mean, hell, we built a starship together in my den. The sets. That being said, I can't watch Picard with him because I don't know what's going to be on.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't watch Lower Decks with him, and that's a cartoon, for kids. So I feel very hypocritical because I can't watch, I don't watch Picard with him. I don't watch Lower Decks with him. Like, I don't watch Modern Trek with him. So I feel like a hypocrite in that regard. Mm-hmm. I was very displeased with the Icheb situation. I was roasted when I posted my displeasure at that situation because I am a friend of Manu.
Yeah.
I like him. He's my friend, and I didn't like seeing that character done that way. However, I've done the same shit to my characters in my films. So it's CBS's character. They can do whatever the hell they want. That being said, a lot happened, but I feel like a lot of nothing happened. It had a lot of good things, but at the same point, it was like, man, was this really the story that was worth telling? For me, it was easily forgettable. With DS9, I go back and I want to rewatch it. I've rewatched Into Darkness several times. With Star Trek Beyond, I want to, but I just never seem to catch it again. If it was on, if Star Trek Beyond was on CBS All Access, I'd watch it, but it's not. So those are things where I actively go back and rewatch. Season 2, I go back and watch clips of it, on CBS All Access, and I've watched season 2 again, because I enjoyed season 2 that much. I haven't watched season 1 all that much, but season 2 I do because I like Pike that much, which is why I stress go back and watch season 2. Star Trek Picard, I haven't. I just don't give a shit. and that's disheartening to me because I love all those characters. Now I have gone back and watched bits and pieces of the Riker and Troy episode, and I've watched clips of the battle with Riker, just because I like that moment. But outside those few moments, I didn't give a shit. So for a fan like me, where you would want to try to reel me in, it's kind of like where when they brought the Next Generation out and they were trying to reel in those classic Trek people. For me, you would want to try to reel me in with this show, and you didn't accomplish that. Now I know there are some diehard, Picard fans out there that are like, no, you succeeded with me. Well, for them, this probably hit the mark. For me personally, it didn't work for me. It didn't hit that. It didn't hit that savory spot. Discovery, season 2 kind of did. Picard season 1 didn't. Now I'll watch, because I've got an account. I'm not excited, and again, that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
So now, what's your take?
Now, for me, Picard going in, I think where I got more of a enjoyment out of it is I was able to, at the very beginning, just because I had, Stewart has always said, after Nemesis, that he would never come back to Picard. Just not going to do it. And then when he did on the build-up, I was able to disconnect and expect to see a different man on screen because of the build-up. And that was, this is not the Picard you knew. This is not going to be Jean-Luc. This is going to be a different Picard. And I accepted that before I watched the first episode. So for me, it wasn't that much of a kick in the head because I'd already come to terms with that before I watched the show. So for me, that wasn't a major claw in my back, shall we say, while we're going through. As for Ichib, well, sorry, I wasn't a big Voyager fan. And I had no connection to that character. None. So for me, that wasn't a major thing to me because, again, I had no investment in that character. Now, the one that I kind of smirked when they killed off was the jackass that tried to disassemble freaking Data back in TNG. So, in my looking at it, it's like, ha! You get it in the end, you bugger. But that's just because in the one episode that he's in TNG, he's trying to dismantle my Data. Don't screw with Data. You screw with Data, you get it down the line. And he did. So, ha. At the end, I really enjoyed the scenes with Data and Picard at the end. I really did. A lot of the fears that I thought was going to happen during that scene didn't, and for that, I'm thankful.
Yeah, that's one thing about the show that I feel like it did right. When it hit home, it really hit home well. It had a lot of small character moments, like at the beginning when it had the moments with Picard and Data in 10 Forward, the dream sequence with Picard, and they're playing cards and they're doing like those things where it's off, but it's very touching and it's very very personal moments, like things like that. It did very well. I didn't really care for the 7 of 9 Sarah Connor knockoff. although I understand it, she had her, for all intents and purposes, her son killed, and I get that, that changes people. And I wasn't looking, some people said that I was kind of looking at it from a, you're just wanting her to stay the same character, and for me, that wasn't it at all. I didn't want her to stay the same Seven of Nine I knew from Voyager, and for Picard, I didn't want him to be the captain of the ship. I had no problem with him changing. To me, it's like, no, this is 20 years later, 25 years later. Of course he would change. To me, I loved change. I was excited to see, hey, the last time we saw this character this far ahead, he had, he was, Riker was making him fall asleep in his quarters, having Beverly or whoever, making him pass out in his quarters because he was, this alternate future with Q, so I'm excited to see where the characters are actually this far ahead in time. So I didn't mind seeing a Picard that's not the captain. I didn't mind that. I felt that they didn't give us enough of those character moments. I did like, I forget who his old XO was. The drug addict lady. Who's that dark skinned lady who?
Oh, on in his crew.
Yeah. She used to be with him at the academy, or not the academy, on the old ship.
On his ship, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, no, I'm even drawing a blank. That's not good.
And that's also another problem that I had with the series. Like, I don't know anybody's name, and that really bothered me because I really enjoyed her character. I felt like I loved her character. Like, she made me want to continue. She was one of the things that made me want to continue watching the show because
see, and for me, she's one of the ones I least liked.
Really, I felt like she was. I felt like when people say, "Oh, these characters are going to be so relatable," I hate comments like that because it's like, look, I don't want to be able to relate to you. I want to be inspired by you. And for her, I felt like she was one of the ones where it's like, I don't mind being able to be relatable to you. I get that. I like that. Not saying that I want to go, get drunk every 2 minutes. That's it. The Raffi, yeah, Raffi. I really dug her character. I really did, just because I liked the personal moments between her and Picard, and the fact that her son, wanted nothing to do with her, and the fact that she was right. Like, I loved that character arc. I really dug that. And
Raffi for me is probably 4 on the list. Number 1 is always going to be Picard for me. It's just the way it is. Second would be Rios. I loved Rios. Rios was awesome. And then I think the third place would be a tie between the Romulan with a sword, because I just loved his character, because he made me chuckle. And then the other one would be, it would go him, and then it would go, well, it's a tie between him and Seven of Nine. And then it would go Raffi. Because to me, seven to me, I mean, in some senses, they went a little bit overboard. But in some ways, like, one of my favorite scenes when it comes to Seven of Nine is where she doesn't want Jean-Luc. She doesn't want to look less in front of Jean-Luc. And Rios gives her way out. And she takes it.
The thing that I don't care for with the Seven of Nine stuff, besides the whole Sarah Connor, in the very end, like, you have her kind of flirting with Raffi.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was no, and don't get me, like, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm all for gay and rights and everything, and I have a lot of friends that are gay. It really bothers me when a character acts out of norm. There was no indication that she was that way in any way, shape, or form. To have that type of indication in, to have her be that way in this episode, I didn't see any type of flirting between the two in anything leading up to this. It was just there at the end.
See,
To me, that was
I'm not even sold on that. Like,
no,
it could happen, but I'm not sold on it yet because realistically, they held hands. That's it. That's all that happened. Was there was, and it depends on how they play this out. And until season 2, I'm not ready to go one way or the other on it because I want to see where they go.
Well, for me,
it's just there's not enough information.
For me, I don't even want to see where they go. I feel like it's done for the wrong reason. Because the thing about I feel like it's for shock value. And to me, I feel like that's disrespectful to the character, and I feel like it's disrespectful to the movement. If there was some type of indication that you were bi or lesbian, or if there had been brought up during the series, when the episode she was there, if there was some type of flirtation and then led to this in this episode, then I'd be like, well, I buy it. Again, 20 years, a lot can change. And if there, like I said, flirtation in the first episode she was in, I could understand that. But there was no indication, and then all of a sudden this was dropped. And it's like, wait, what? And that was the problem that I had with Discovery of shock value. Oh, here's this Klingon, shock value. Oh, here's this, shock value. Oh, here's this, shock value. And it's one of those things where it's like we don't know enough about most of the characters or where the characters are at in their lives for us to get a complete picture of who they are. So when something happens, we don't know why, or it doesn't matter when it does happen. Like, I don't know who this character is enough of 7 of 9. Like, when Icheb dies, the only reason I care is because of anything that happened in a previous series. Same thing with Picard. The only reason I care about Picard is because of what happened in Next Generation. Nothing of Picard I care about happens because of what happens in Picard. Same thing with 7 of 9. Nothing I don't care about her because of anything that happens in this show. That's sad, and that's very telling. The whole reason I wanted to care about this is because of Picard. Give me a reason to care now. I don't care about Picard. I do care about Raffi a little bit because you've made me care about. I care a little bit about her, the relationship with her son, the drinking and drug problem. I have friends that are like that. With the 7 of 9, I don't care about you. I care about who you were in Voyager. I don't care about you here. I understand you lost Icheb. I know what that meant to me. I don't understand what it means here.
Yeah.
So when I see the relationship with the hand touching, I don't have a context for this. You're just showing me something and I don't have a context. What does it mean? And that bothers me because, again, is this a happy ending for 7 of 9? Is this just a fling? And to me, that's disrespectful. I don't like stuff like that. So to me, it's stuff like that where it's like you're just doing something to do it. And that's, I don't like stuff like that.
Well, and for me, it didn't land like that at all. As a matter of fact, when I came out of that episode, I heard people talking online, oh, Raffi and 7 of 9 had a, lesbian moment. I'm like, when? I just watched that episode twice. What the fuck? And here's why. So at the end of the episode, when you see the split second that they're together on screen and they're sitting at the table and they have and they're holding hands, where my mind went was somewhere really relative in my life. And it was right after my dad died. And I'm sitting at the table, and across from me is my best friend, my brother from another mother. And we didn't say nothing. Nothing was said for about an hour. He just held my hand. And I just looked at the wall behind him for an hour. Never said a word. Just held his hand. So, with everything that had gone on in that episode, Picard dying, the fact that they emphasized that it impacted the crew so much, and then Picard is back. I took it as not a love scene, but more two friends, because they've somewhat built up somewhat of a friendship. I mean, they didn't touch on it a lot, but that's where I came at it from. And I didn't come at it from a relationship thing. I only figured this out later after everybody went and threw a big fit about it. And I'm just like, well, to me, that's not how it landed.
See, and I guess that's part of the problem. I think you hit the nail hit the hammer hit the nail right on the head right there. You were like, they didn't really touch upon it enough. You said it perfectly right there. And that's part of the thing, is there's not enough character development on any of this. And take the episode The Last Outpost that we watched of The Next Generation a couple weeks back, where you have the relationship with Data and Geordi, and they send, I think it was The Last Outpost. Yeah, because they're in the briefing room scene, and they walk in, and Data, he's playing with the Chinese puzzle thing.
Yeah.
And Geordi and Riker and Picard, they're all kind of laughing at Data and whatnot. But there's a cute moment between Geordi and Data, and it shows you all you need to know about that friendship. And then at the end, like, again, Geordi and Data tells you all you need to know about that friendship. They don't really they don't share a lot of time. But I would argue that there's more development in the friendship between Geordi and Data in those first couple episodes than there is in the entire thing between Raffi and Seven.
Well, yes, and so to get to that point, my personal feeling on Picard was that it was a good episode. Like, it was a decent series. The problem is they try to put too much. The old saying, too many cooks in the kitchen. And that's what this series suffered from, was there's too many cooks in the kitchen. There's too many storylines going at once. And you're trying to all tie them all in 10 episodes. And you're not giving any breathing room. And you're not giving the really good storylines any real breathing space to really latch on. You're just throwing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 story plots, and you're not realizing I've only have so much time. And so maybe we'll take this, and this, and move it to season 2. And we'll focus on this, and this season 1. Right? And I think that, of all things, is my biggest criticism from Picard, is they tried to do too much too quick. And at the same time.
Yeah, I think it suffers from going way too slow and rushing to be way too slow, because when I was watching it, I was like, good God, how much longer do we have left? And that's a terrible sign for a show. Like, it felt like a chore to watch Star Trek. And I felt that way during Discovery Season 1. Didn't feel that way during Discovery Season 2. So I guess, I mean, of course, I'm going to watch next season, not because I love it, but just because I have all access available to me. So as long as that's the case, I'll continue to watch. But that being said, Your favorite Star Trek of all time. Lower Decks.
Oh, hell no. Definitely not.
So I need to return the Lower Decks subway poster that I got you then.
Yeah. Especially after what they did to Q. They can go and bite me. Yeah.
See, I haven't watched it. I haven't watched it since we haven't reviewed. I haven't watched it.
I made the mistake of watching the Q episode, and I haven't watched it since. I'm not thrilled with what they did with Q.
Well, I won't have you spoil it because I
won't spoil it. But geez,
unless we're reviewing it.
Forgettable. You want to talk about forgettable? That was forgettable. And that's saying something, considering Q is like one of my all-time favorite Star Trek characters. And for me, that was forgettable. That was even more forgettable than what they did with him with the whole love scene with Janeway.
So with this show, is there room in Star Trek for this? Not your personal opinion. Not my personal opinion. You and I don't like this. We know that. We can talk 10 times till Tuesday. Is there room in Star Trek for this?
In a sense, and this is not going to be a very popular comment, but in a sense, the fandom asked for it in a way.
Yeah.
And this is not going to be a popular comment, and I'm going to get hate in the comment section, but oh well. When Orville dropped, all the CBS heard, if they paid attention to social media for 5 seconds, was, this is what Star Trek should be. And you go and look at Lower Decks, and you go, well, damn it, they listened.
That's not Orville.
No, but the comedic version is. Especially if you go with the first 4 episodes of Orville. So those 4 almost made me stop watching the whole show. Yeah, there's another thing that's going to get me hate in the comment section. To me, Orville is meh. Yeah.
We should watch Orville. I'm
not watching the first 4 episodes ever again. I'm just letting you know that right now. Because my rage meter by the time I watch those 4 back to back.
Hold on. If I can watch Lower Decks, you can watch Orville 4C. You can watch it. You can watch
subscribers. So if I watch it, I have to review it, and therefore I'm going to become unpopular real quick. But for me, I think it was CBS hearing, we don't want a serious track. We want Orville-esque. This is Orville-esque times 10, because at least some of the officers on Orville have a brain in their head, unlike any of the fackers on Lower Decks. But they went full comedy, and they shouldn't have. But then again, I've never been, that humor's never landed on me.
The thing about Lower Decks, I hate it with a passion, but I love the fact that it exists. And if this is the thing that makes people jump onto Star Trek, then, more power to them. The thing that I love about Orville is it's consistent within itself, and it's consistent with its own continuity. The thing that I hate about this is it is not consistent with Star Trek. I have no problem with this existing within the Star Trek universe. However, it's not consistent with itself. It's not consistent with the rules that it puts out. It's not. It's everything is done for a gag.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
So
For comedy.
yeah, it's well, but the humor doesn't land.
To me,
It's everything's pushed to the max, and again in a different category, like we were talking about with Picard, where everything is just, or not Picard, with I think Discovery we were talking about, where you just feel like you're in a car wreck where you're not sure, like it just keeps going boom, 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 boom. That's kind of like this with the jokes, where it's like it doesn't have an actual story. It's just joke after joke after joke after joke after joke. Like the last episode I think you and I watched, they actually captured an alien and stuck him in a bucket or something. Like what?
Yeah.
And that's saying, like, if you had actually done that, you'd be off that ship so bad. Like, that's not consistent with Starfleet. Like, I get telling a comedy. That's not comedic.
Yeah.
And not, like, I feel like a prude for being like, guys, if you're a fan of Star Trek, how is this funny? Explain to me the joke.
Yeah.
Because
to me, one of the other genres other than sci-fi that I like is horror. Not slasher, horror. And there is a difference. But to me, this is to Star Trek as the scary movie franchise is to horror movies.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the jokes are so stupid and just blatant.
Everything.
It hurts your head to watch.
I feel as if it's like when you have like a half gallon of milk, and so you fill the half gallon full of water because you're trying to convince people that you still have milk, and then you get down to another half gallon and you fill it back up with water to try to show people you have milk, and you keep doing that like 10 times. After a while, you have nothing but like water. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I feel like this is. I feel like this is like just watered down Trek. Like you've got, like you could this is just the you have the overlay of Star Trek, but it's not Star Trek. Again, I'm glad that it exists. If someone watches this and goes, man, buy me a uniform, I want to cosplay as that. Like, man, I'm all for it. That is great. If you buy your first phaser because you saw someone shoot a hole through somebody in this, great. I'm all for it. But to me, it's like there's just too many self-referencing. I don't like the ship. I don't like this. Like, I would say, and I have to end this soon because I have other things I have to go do. Not saying that spending time with you for an hour hasn't been fun rambling, but I would say for me, and I think watching Lower Decks has really pinpointed my problem with modern Trek. But modern Trek has really shown me what I love about the originals. It's shown me just how much out of step with modern entertainment that I am. Like it's kind of like when you are so in love with nostalgia that you can't move forward. And I feel like that's where it's like, okay, it may be time that I'm getting old. I may just be getting old, that I can no longer appreciate what's going on. Maybe things are just getting too fast paced for me, that I can no longer appreciate the stories that are going on at Picard, or fast paced that I can't appreciate the Discovery stuff. Maybe it's too splashy for me, or too shiny and too polished with the Kelvin universe, or maybe the humor is just too waka 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 for for the Lower Deck stuff. Maybe it's just time that I realize, you know, that I'm like my grandpa, where he's like, nope, I love these old westerns and I'm gonna stick to them. You know,
Yeah.
maybe it's just time for me to be like, you know, I can watch these, but I'm not going to enjoy them like I enjoy what I know that I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, so and there's something to understand that, you know, I can appreciate that understanding. So maybe I'm at that point, you know, but I don't enjoy modern Trek like I do the classics. Because even Enterprise, where you've got some bad episodes, I still enjoy a lot of it. Um, and I don't enjoy modern Trek like I used to. You know, I enjoy other people's, and I enjoy sitting back and watching them cosplay. I enjoy watching them discuss, but I don't enjoy the product like I used to. And another thing that really bothers me is there used to be like the Playmates toys that they used to have, the action figures and stuff, like the phasers that they used to have, like the stuff that was just for the kids, the retail stuff that was, you know, fairly priced. Now it seems like everything is for the collectors,
Yes.
the super expensive, the super duper individually collectible, you know, and stuff that's like nobody in their right mind can afford half the stuff. And I don't want that. I want something where it's like, hey, I bought my kid a new phaser, or hey,
Yeah.
the discovery phaser. Hey, my kid likes this. I want to buy it for him. Or hey, my kid wants a tricorder. Here's the newest tricorder, Royce. Because I go and buy my kid that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
He bought the Mystery Machine the other day. He bought the DeLorean the other day. Like I buy him stuff that I like, and he loves it. And I love it for nostalgia, and he loves it because it's new to him. Um,
Yes.
I miss the fact that they don't do that. You know, everything is just super collectible and super expensive. And why is there nothing for my kid to play with? And that
Yeah.
sucks
Exactly.
because nothing is marketed toward kids, because
No.
kids are not the market for this,
No.
and that really sucks. So modern Trek is just not geared to the future, I feel. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, see, I think for me, um, it's it's moving towards like a lot of other uh, fandoms that I'm in. It's moving towards that ever elusive. Well, we don't want the diehard. This isn't who this is for. We don't want the people who buy our merchandise. This isn't who this movie's for, or this show is for. We want the casual fan. We want new people. New people. We must get new people. We need new people all the time. To hell with the diehards will always be there. It's one of my pet peeves with when we get into the wrestling conversation, which I won't get into right now. But it is the prime example of what we're talking about.
Right.
Just amplified to about 110. Because they'll actually come out and say it. We don't give a shit about the diehards and the people who spend $1,000 on a replica belt. The ones we care about is the guy flipping the channel. And that's the reality, right? That is the reality as a wrestling fan, and why it's so frustrating to be a wrestling fan is because you know without 100% you're not the one that this show is for.
Yeah.
They're doing shit for the guy who's just flipping the channels and has never bought a wrestling shirt, never bought a ticket to a live event, never, none of that stuff, never bought titles for his kids, never done any of that stuff. But it's designed to catch the eye of the guy who's flipping through the channels. And that's exactly how the feeling I get from the new modern Trek.
Yeah.
It's not designed for your diehards. It's not designed for your core fans. It's designed for the person who opens up CBS All Access and goes, well, what's new this week? This looks kind of different. That isn't the Trek that I remember seeing and making fun of when I was younger. Maybe I'll watch this, right? And that's where that's what they're trying to do. That is, the 18 to 25. That's where they're aiming. That's where that dart's going. And, it just, to me, I think it's a business model that will hurt them in the long run. I understand why they're trying it, but it hurt the WWE. And it will hurt them on a grander scale, right? Because they don't put out half the content the WWE does. So the WWE can afford to have a few viewership, a couple million drop off, because there's still the diehards that are there, thick and thin, a million YouTube channels, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, I stopped watching that back in 2002. From time to time, I would try to pick up, but it was.
You left during the aggression era.
Yeah, it was. That's. I think we should actually talk about that one of these days. But yeah, man, let's wrap this up. And
So I want to thank you, Vance, for doing this with me, and having patience. I know we were supposed to do this about 2 weeks ago, and I just haven't been able to. So,
dude, it's fine, man.
Thank you for that, and I want to thank everyone who's made it this far. And I hope at least we've been entertaining for an hour. And till next time, take her easy, folks.